So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? Absolutely. It was easy, suspenseful, and it had a genuinely surprising ending. I loved the twists, and I think it would be a good book for people who don't usually read mysteries and thrillers, but would like to give one a try. Hi everyone, my name is Terry Westwell, and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our Panic at the Book Club book of the week, which is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message. Alicia writes a diary as a release, an outlet, and to prove to her beloved husband that everything is fine. She can't bear the thought of worrying Gabriel or causing him any pain. Until late one evening, Alicia shoots Gabriel 5 times and then never speaks another word. Forensic psychotherapist Theo is convinced that he can treat Alicia successfully where all others have failed. Obsessed with investigating her crime, his discoveries suggest that Alicia's silence goes much deeper than he originally thought. And if she speaks, will he want to hear the truth? This is a spoiler-free part where first we'll discuss any spoiler-free points before moving on to a clearly marked section of the video which will contain spoilers and more specifics about the book. As always, starting with those chapter lengths, which were anywhere between 5 and 10 pages. The book wasn't the fastest paced ever, however, due to those short chapter lengths, I think it definitely made it feel faster than it was, and it helped to build suspense in all the right areas. Despite the multiple POVs, it was actually really easy to read and follow. And I actually liked Alicia's, which were all from her diary leading up to the days before her husband was unalived. It helped to build theories as well as give the reader another perspective of some of the characters throughout the book. It was a brilliant example of multiple POVs working really well and being a really important part of the book. I always say that I don't really like multiple perspectives, and while a single POV will always be my favourite, there are times like this one where I do really enjoy it. When done right, especially in a thriller, it can be super effective. I flew through this book in just a couple of days, and by the end of it, I was on the edge of my seat. There were quite a few characters. We had everyone who worked at the hospital, then everyone who is in Alicia's life before events happened, and then the addition of a few other characters, so it did feel like quite a lot. And while I have no hope in hell in remembering most of their names, they were still really easy to follow, and at some point I think I suspected pretty much all of them of some wrongdoing. It did feel quite slow at times, but it did really pick up towards the end. I actually really enjoyed the ending. I don't think I've been that surprised in a while. As I said, I did have tons of theories. It just wasn't until we got closer to the end that everything sort of clicked. If I had to compare this to any other book, it would probably be The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. I think in many ways they have a similar sort of writing style, a similar sort of pacing throughout the book, and very good suspenseful endings. Now we've reached that part of the video where I suggest if you haven't read this book yet, go do that first, because beyond this point there will definitely be spoilers. I'm not really sure what else to say. There wasn't a single likeable character in the whole thing. At one point I liked Theo. It really felt like he cared for the patients and cared for what Alicia was going through, but Yeah, I felt the shock and disgust through the pages when he found out just how much medication Alicia was on, because, yeah, the idea that a facility would let that happen is disgusting. I mean, the fact that they would rather drug them up instead of getting them the help that they genuinely need feels like not only a horrible injustice, but also a very real possibility. I just saw that he wanted to help until it started to feel like more of an obsession. And then I started to suspect that maybe not all of his chapters were linear. Maybe some of them weren't happening now, but in the past. And it wasn't until then that I clicked as to what was going on. I mean, looking back now, I am a little shocked that it didn't even cross my mind, but it genuinely didn't. Yeah, I just kind of thought that this poor man has been going through such a shit time, but he was still rocking up to work and doing his job. Well, I felt pretty bad for Alicia in the end. Like, I did feel pretty bad for her throughout, but at the same time, it did seem like she was struggling and that she had violent tendencies. Like, I didn't feel quite as bad for her when she started attacking Theo, who at the time just seemed to be this friendly guy who was trying to help her. But in the end, it made sense as to why she attacked Theo. But everyone just treated her like this lost cause and never questioned any of her actions. Like, before her husband was unalived, the only person who believed her about her stalker was her neighbour who lived for the drama. Her husband that should have listened didn't. Her therapist believed her husband over her and didn't even question that maybe she was right. And that, kids, is why your therapist shouldn't be your friend or your family friend, because you're just setting yourself up for a biased response. I mean, one incident after her dad died does not mean that she's wrong all the time. But I guess sometimes that is how it feels. Like, if you go to a doctor's office and you have a history of mental health problems, then sometimes they'll just chalk your problems down to that, prolonging you getting a proper diagnosis. Like, everyone... Oh, that's super pigmented. I mean, and everyone just seemed to give up on this woman long before her husband passed away, chalking everything down to mental health problems, and as the reader, she seemed pretty sane. You know, she seemed in control of her actions, and it didn't seem like she was imagining things. And maybe it wouldn't feel like that even if she was seeing things, but if anyone in this book deserved better, it was definitely her. I can't say I was too disappointed at the idea of Christian getting some of the backlash, because anyone like that just shouldn't have a medical license. So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? Absolutely. It was easy, suspenseful, and it had a genuinely surprising ending. I loved the twists, and I think it would be a good book for people who don't usually read mysteries and thrillers, but would like to give one a try. Instead of a classic whodunit, it was more of a whydunit, which I feel like I've seen a lot of recently, but this one was done really well. So, will I be reading any more by Alex Michaelides? If his other books are anything like this one, then absolutely. Sophie Lou on TikTok said that she didn't really like it. It just sort of felt all over the place. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Anne said that unfortunately for him, this was a DNF at around the 38% mark. He just couldn't get into it. And although it does have good chapter lengths, he just wasn't enjoying the story and couldn't connect to the characters. Anne originally picked this book up because he liked the sound of it and he loves a good thriller. However, after trying to read the physical book, the audiobook didn't seem to help him get into it either. Anne wouldn't recommend simply because he can't recommend a book he couldn't finish. He's not exactly in a rush to read a book by this author, but he might give one a go in the future.
So this week we're talking about Silent Patient. I'm going to start off by saying it's one of those books that I really, really enjoyed. But you know, as soon as you finish the last page and you close the book, you're just like, what happened? Like, why do I not remember anything? It's one of them ones for me. I remember obviously the storyline, but the ins and outs of it, I actually just genuinely can't remember. But I know I really enjoyed it. I feel like the second thing I should say is when I picked this up to read, I was in the biggest book slump of my life, literally. I think I was in a slump for probably about 2 months. And I just couldn't. I tried so many different books. I'd get to about like 100 pages and I'd be like, I can't even do it no more. I actually just can't even read it anymore. So I thought I'd change it up a bit because I don't tend to read a lot of thriller, mystery, whatever this comes under. So I thought, change it up a little bit, try it, and literally devoured it. This book follows a past and present timeline, and the past tells us about a girl called Alicia who's an artist, and she ends up living in a psych ward prison kind of thing. She's there basically because she commits a crime. Once she's, detained, she goes completely mute and doesn't speak at all, and she's the silent patient. And then the present timeline tells us about a man called Theo who is I believe he's like a psychiatric doctor, and he goes and starts his new job at the same ward that Alicia is being kept in, basically. And it's all about Theo trying to work out why she's gone mute and trying to break the ice between her and him so he can find out what really happened the night of the crime. I will say though, I found the ending a little bit confusing. I don't know if I'm alone in that or whether it's a common thing that everybody gets confused over, but I know I did. And I'm now going to confuse you because I'm going to try and explain it terribly. So the book follows the past and the present. Oh my god. So throughout the book, you're basically following 2 different time periods, the past and the present. And towards the end of the book, the past and the present... Oh my god, am I okay? Towards the end of the book, the past and the present sort of like... You find out how the past affected the present kind of thing, what the connection between the two is. And for me, that's the bit that I found confusing. I understand what happened. I do get it, but I just didn't get it. Yeah, that makes loads of sense, Lars, well done. So I'm going to leave that there. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. You probably don't, because I don't think I even explained anything in English, but we move. The chapter lengths in Silent Patient are tiny. So if you like small chapters, you'll love this. I love small chapters. I don't know why, I just do. And I genuinely say the average of the chapter lengths is probably 3 pages. I feel like every single chapter is either 2, 3 or 4 pages long. So I rated this book 5 stars, and I rated it 5 stars for a few different reasons. 1, because I point blank just enjoyed it, so why wouldn't I? 2, I rated it 5 stars because it got me out of a 2-month reading slump. During this reading slump, I tried probably, honestly, about 8 books, get about 100 pages through, and I'm like, no, cannot get into it. And that is including starting books that are in the middle of a series that I'm currently reading, and I've been like, I can't do it. So for me, I've tried all of them books, but this is the one that got me out. That speaks volumes in my opinion. So I definitely recommend Silent Patient. It was good, it was fun, it was unsuspectable. Is that a word? Unsuspectable. Alexa, is unsuspectable a word?
From collectivenounslist.com.
Long story short, yeah, I'd recommend it. Yeah, short chapters, everything was all good. Really enjoyed it. Interesting. Yeah, I've literally got nothing bad to say about it. It was cute. It was a good, I don't know. But it was a good fun read, so why not? Thanks. See ya.
Next week we'll be discussing Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, so don't forget to get your comments and thoughts in by Monday the 30th at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok or Instagram. The following week will be One Dark Window, but don't forget if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below, along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you, and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it's always appreciated, and I will see you next week. Bye!